Welcome to Do Life in a Body You Love. I have an amazing guest for you, chicks. Her name is Danielle, and she has been on the most amazing journey. And so we are going to just chat about what she's been going through for the past, I don't know, 10, 11 weeks ish, because I know you guys are going to get so many good golden nuggets. So you're seriously probably going to want like a pen and paper and just write down the things that resonate you, write down the things that you're like, ooh, maybe that's something I need to work on. And we'll just see how it goes here. But Danielle, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you for having me. It's exciting.
Yeah, why don't you just start by like telling everybody? So obviously Danielle's a client of ours in the Keep It Off Academy. What was going on for you prior to joining?
Huh. How far back do you want me to go? No.
Well, like, okay, so I guess what made you go, okay, I want to join this program? Like, what were you hoping to get, like
Yeah.
health
So
wise or anything?
I am 43 years old, and for the first time in my entire life, my old tricks were not working for me. I could not get the scale to move for anything. I could not get my motivation to be healthy and take better care of myself. I couldn't keep with a routine workout routine. I couldn't keep from eating like a 9-year-old with no parents. Like all of the things were happening at one time. And like I would be good for like a week and the scale wouldn't move. So I'd be like, all right, I'm done. And then next thing you know, 3 weeks have gone by and I was once again eating like a 9-year-old with no parents. And there was no consistency whatsoever. I have gained, lost the same probably 50, 60 pounds countless times since I was 23 years old. So in the last 20 years. And I knew I needed something because what I'm doing is not working.
So you had been gaining and losing pretty much your whole adult life, but now recently, even the things that used to work to at least take it off were
We're
also
not
not.
working. No.
Okay,
I used
gotcha.
I could go on Weight Watchers and lose 20 pounds in like 4 weeks, 5 weeks, no problem. And I went on Weight Watchers for a few weeks and literally nothing happened. And I'm like, what's happening? Like, what am I doing?
Oh my goodness. So I'm guessing this is sort of when we found each other.
Yeah, that was about the time I talked to you the first time. Yes. And then I kind of like postponed for a little bit because life was really, really hectic. And then life was still hectic, but I was like, well, guess what? That might not ever change. And life might just continue to be crazy for the unforeseeable future. And at least if there's one thing I've got going for me, I can work on myself. So that's when I remember I just messaged you. I'm like, okay, it's my birthday next week. Once that week's over, I'm doing this. And that was that.
Yes, I was so pleased because yes, you do. Okay, so everybody thinks they have a busy life. And to a certain degree, we all do, but like you really do. Like you extra do. You have a lot of things going on, both from a calendar standpoint and a stress standpoint and blah, blah, blah. But I love what you said there. And that, like, yeah, okay, but when is that going away?
Yeah.
Like, and it's so funny because I don't know if you've picked up on this, but like, I don't know, most of the women in the program are probably in their like 40s, 50s, 60s, but we have a couple of women who are older and retired. And they'll even say, like they're in there talking about like how busy they are because like every season of life brings different types of busy. So if we keep kicking the can down the road to take back our health, well, first of all, that's just never, it's never coming for us, right? Like, this free
Never.
time is never, it's a facade. It's not happening. So, so I was very like pleased when you were like, oh, screw it. Let's just do it. I need to do this. So then, okay, give us the take, give us the rundown. What have you been experiencing as of late?
Um, so I will say, like, I was like terrified at first because I was like, okay, I'm like, I know I'm going through something really stressful right now. Like, am I going to be successful at this? And I will say, like, Nikki, no matter what else I got out of this program, like the fact that I've been able to change my mindset in the way I react to life when it comes to food and having that kind of control, like I don't care. I don't care if I didn't lose a pound. Like the difference is absolutely unbelievable. I just my personal life has been very crazy. There's been some extreme stressors throughout this program, and being able to put myself in a mindset that I didn't let those things derail me, because old Danielle would have been like, well, this is sucks. Like, let's eat a cheeseburger and a milkshake. And then once I would have a meal like that, I would just go back to eating that way and completely fall out of taking care of myself. And the fact that I have been able to get through this extremely stressful summer while also learning about how to take better care of myself and how, how to deal with things without putting food in my mouth to make me feel better. Like, it's been life changing.
My gosh, I love that so much. I think when we spoke a few weeks ago, you were like, you were down some weight, but you were like, Nikki, I don't even care about that.
No,
Like,
not at
if,
all. Like,
if I don't lose another pound, like the way my mind works is so different. And like, I don't know. I just wish that everybody could have a taste of what that's like
oh, trust me,
because
do you remember me like freaking out about having to get on the scale? And you're like, well, why do you have to weigh yourself? And I was like, well, because that's how I've always judged my success. And I think the fact that, number one, you were all able to kind of help me through that, and acknowledge, like, help me acknowledge the fact that, like, there's other ways to gauge your success. Like, that was huge for me. Like, getting on that call that night and having that conversation out loud, like, it was a game changer for me, because otherwise I would still be terrified of the scale and let it run my life. And so, like, that was a game changer for me. Like, the fact that I can get on the scale, and if I think I said it, did I told Brittany, like, or I might have told you, I don't remember, like, it went up a little bit like last week, but I don't weigh every day, because I know myself well enough to know that that's too much for me, and that's okay.
yeah,
But I hadn't weighed in a week. It went up like 0.7 pounds, and I was like, okay, back on with my day. Danielle, 12 weeks ago, that would have ruined her weekend. Like, and then I would have been like, well, I didn't lose any weight this week, so why do I care what I'm putting in my body this weekend? Like, that was old Danielle. That is how she would have reacted to that. And I literally was like, okay, well, I know I'm doing good things for myself. I know I am putting healthy foods in my body. I know I'm getting good protein in my body, good fiber. I'm staying within a good calorie range. I'm watching my fat intake, like my carb intake, like, and it's not hard, and it's just happening, and it's amazing. And I, for the first time, probably, I'd say, let's see, 2 years, probably, I have worked out consistently 5 times a week for 12 weeks. And that hasn't happened in, like I said, probably 2 years. Um,
that's huge when you have a busy schedule. Like
oh,
that really is like a big accomplishment.
yes, because I'm a morning workout person. Like, if it doesn't get done before I've showered for the day, it's not getting done. Like, I know myself. So my alarm goes off at 5:30, and my husband, who doesn't do anything to stay in shape, is sound asleep next to me. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm doing this.
Husbands who just accidentally stay in shape probably get discussed. They're definitely like high up on the list of topics we talk about on our Tuesday night calls because because it is so annoying, right? But I love that you have figured out how the scale can work for you. So we have some women who weigh every single day and it's fine and there's a method to the madness. We have some women who literally never weigh. But I love now that you can see like a small influx up, but you're like, but I'm looking at the total and I'm actually losing weight. But like people quit doing things that are working all the time. I talk about this all the time. I'm like, people literally will be down like 15 pounds and they'll see the scale go up for a couple of days. And it's literally nothing more than like they had a lot of sodium or they had more carbohydrates. It has nothing to do with fat whatsoever. And they're like, oh, well, 2 days out of 8 weeks that the scales went up. So I quit. Right. But like when you say it out loud, it's not logical. And we all know that. But when you're the one getting on it and feeling all the things, logic goes out the window.
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
everything said to you that night on the call when we were talking through the whole scale issue, it's things you already logically knew.
Oh yeah, I just couldn't rationalize it for myself because it's always been such a hang up for me. Like
Mhm.
my whole life, it's been that way. And I think too, because I've never focused on the bigger picture. And I think that's a big part of this for me too, is like, how am I feeling? Like, am I sleeping better? Is my energy high? Like, it's always been one focus, and that's that number on the scale. And like getting out of that mindset, like best gift ever. Like even
There was some very particular things. I think you had, correct me if I'm wrong, you had a lot of food guilt before. Like you'd
I have a
eat something if you weren't supposed to have it, and you'd just be
yes.
like,
Oh yeah. Food guilt. I also have major FOMO when it comes to food, and I've learned that. Like where like to the point where the first time I went out to dinner when I started this program, it was like week 2. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, you are going to do this. And I made like you're gonna be okay. Like you're going to make healthy choices. You're allowed to eat at restaurants because that was also a thing for me. Like, no, you have to be at home, you have to be cooking yourself healthy meals. Like you can't live a life and be healthy. Like, what are you thinking, Danielle?
yeah, your whole life has to get put on hold if you want to try to get healthy. That's like what our
Exactly.
brains do.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And like my girlfriend that I was with, like I had already decided what I was having. I made the conscious decision to look at the menu before I went that night, just to so I knew like what my options were, and I could mentally kind of be like, okay, yeah, that sounds delicious, and it's probably a healthier choice. Great. And like she starts ordering like chicken wings and like mozzarella sticks as an appetizer, and I'm going like
Jesus help me.
this is going to ruin my day that I can't have one of those mozzarella sticks. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, no, like you could have one. You don't want one, and that's okay. Like, and but at first, like that part of my brain was like, but you're not going to get that mozzarella stick. You love mozzarella sticks. So, so like the fact that I was able to like get past that was pretty big for me. But yeah, I do. I feel like even like when my husband and I order takeout occasionally, like I'll see something on the menu and like I will focus on that for like the next 15 minutes if I don't order it. Like because that sounded really good and I'm missing out. When really is it going to make a world of difference in my life at all? No.
Well, I thank you for just coaching me through that, Danielle, because I have food FOMO still. Like it's so, I have to know what everybody at the table is ordering before I order. Because
Mm.
like, what if you're getting something that I wanted to get? And also you kind of like what I'm going to get. So I need to know who I'm sharing a plate with,
Mhm.
basically, because I want to eat more of the things. And you better believe I'm like eyeballing plates when I roll into a restaurant, like, oh, what's that?
Oh yeah, what's that?
What's that? Yeah. Food
Um,
FOMO is legit.
yeah.
But you are telling me, and if you don't want to share this, we'll just edit it out.
Okay.
But you were telling me a few weeks ago when we were talking, when sweet little Brittany was on maternity leave, I think. And so you and I were doing one of your check-in calls about a incident where your family was all eating ice cream for a very
Oh
sad but
yes,
special occasion.
yes. Oh yeah,
I
because
don't
that
know.
was
Is that a shareable thing?
no, it was a wonderful thing because that was a real like having that conversation with you that day and like reliving that experience. Like it was a kind of an aha moment for me through this process because my grandfather passed away. Like he was in hospice care for only about 24 hours before he passed, but we didn't leave his side. And that the night he passed, that at dinner time, he passed around 9:30, but at dinner time, there was a bunch of us there, and we decided we were going to eat ice cream in his honor for dinner because ice cream was his favorite thing. And I think I was telling you, like, Danielle 6 months ago, like, if she was really trying to take better care of herself, I wouldn't have allowed myself to have that ice cream, even though it was such a monumental thing that we were doing in honor of my grandfather. Like, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And if I had done it, I would have beaten myself up about it for days afterwards. And like the fact that I was just able to say, like, this is bigger, like this is bigger than that. Like this is more important. This is the last time I'm ever going to sit next to my grandfather while he's still breathing, like, and we're doing something so beautiful in honor of him. Like, and that was definitely an aha moment for me of like, life is going to happen. And like, the world's not going to stop spinning if you do things for yourself that make you feel good. Like,
Yeah, that when you shared that with me, I was just like, "Ah," because like we don't, when we're just focused on losing weight, we don't really think about how all of these like diet rules that are in our head really affect us. And
mhm,
then we have these moments.
yes,
And for you to be able to enjoy it guilt free and knowing that, like, don't we all know that, like, oh, okay, you eat ice cream once, like that doesn't, that's pissing in the ocean. That means nothing
nothing.
for your weight loss goals, right? But it's so common that we would feel some sort of way about doing that. And you got to have that experience and just be in the moment
Mhm.
instead of thinking about, oh, what is this going to mean for my health? And then does this mean that I'm not consistent and I'm not disciplined? And then we beat ourselves up. And it's like, I just wish every woman could experience what you experienced with that freedom,
Yeah. And
you know?
in that whole like, oh, what did I do? I messed up. Like that negative self-talk is what used to take me down that path of just derailment and not caring at all how I was taking care of myself. Like, and the fact that I'm not doing that anymore is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Even I think I talked to you guys about it on the call about um going away for my cousin's wedding, and we're all together for a weekend, and I went into that weekend so prepared, like, okay, like I'm bringing healthy things with me. And yeah, i i I indulged. I ate too much. I drank some adult beverages, probably more so than I probably should have,
Which led to more eating.
which led to more
If
eating.
you're like me when you're drinking, I'm like, fourth meal, take me to Taco Bell.
Yeah, like my sister made like this buffalo chicken dip for after the wedding and sandwiches. And like, if I had been at home and there wasn't people around and food around like that, like I would have just come home and gone to bed. But like, that's a social thing for me. Like, we're all doing this together. Like, and I told you guys, like, I felt like it was Labor Day weekend. Monday, I was so mad at myself, so mad at myself. And I was convinced, like, okay, like I just ruined. And like, the fact that I had done so many good things up to that point wasn't even registering in my brain at the time. And like, talking to you guys about it on the call that night, and you're like, but Danielle, like, that's life. Like, and you went back and you meal prepped the next day. You ate good all day today. Like, you're back on track. Like, and like, that's when I started to realize that like I was actually starting to be able to live this, I guess. Like, and be okay with it. And the fact that like I did do that, I got right back on track the next day. Like, oh, I was like, okay, you're not going to go back to eating like a 9-year-old with no parents because you had one bad weekend of. And it's not like, even my husband, he said to me, he's like, you didn't eat that bad. He's like, you just didn't eat like you have been eating normally at home. And he's like, it's okay to indulge and celebrate sometimes. And if food is something that comes along with that, because that's my family, that's just what my family does, is they eat when we're together. He's like, you just gotta figure it out. He's like, it's gonna happen and it's okay. And but when he said it, of course, I was like, shut up. But then
Yeah,
you
the
guys said
spouse
it,
can't be the coach.
and I was like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, when he said it, it was just annoying. But I'm like, oh, okay. The girls on the Tuesday call said it. Okay, makes sense. And not to be a jerk and be like, I'm so glad that that happened to you. But I think I even said this to you on that call, like, hey, you're going to want to punch me in the face when I say this to you right now, but later you'll get it. I'm really glad that this happened to you while you were still in the program. And I mean it because we need to take opportunities to indulge and know how to handle it and get back on the horse.
Yeah.
And before I talk to any of you, when you come in the program, I'm like, we need to get you to a place where, and we explain exactly what you just experienced. You can go on vacation, you can basically do whatever you want, or you can try to keep it kind of buttoned up. There's a time and a place for each. You make the decision. We're going to teach you how to do it. And then, but you got to be able to come home and get back on it and not have guilt and live life. And everybody's always like, yes, that's exactly what I want. Yes, that's exactly what I want. But you have to practice doing it. It's not just hearing it, it's having practice and support because our brains, we can hear this mindset stuff and it's like, yeah, that makes sense. But until you experience it and go through the motions, it's how our brains have worked for decades, you know?
Decades. Exactly. Like I was thinking about it the other day and I'm like, okay, I'm like thinking about all of the things I have done in my life to try and lose weight. And like, I'm like, holy moly, like not one of those things ever actually made me feel confident in what I was doing. It was a it was an end goal. I reached it and then I went back to my old habits every single time. Every single time. How did it take me almost 20 years to realize I was doing that?
Because that's all we're taught. Like, it's not
Yeah.
a you thing. I mean, even me, this is why I've created this program, is because I went through it myself. And everybody's like, wow, you're a nurse. You had a hard time losing weight. And it's like, yeah, it wasn't even the weight. Like, my body was like extremely unhealthy, shutting down with autoimmune crap. And I was heavier than I had been. And I knew what to do, but like changing your behavior is hard.
Uh-huh.
And what I thought I knew to do wasn't right, anyways, because it was mostly diet crap. Right. And so everybody's like, make a lifestyle change. Yeah, but how?
Yeah. How do I do
How do
that?
we learn to make those changes and listen to what our body is telling us? Because that's also foreign to us.
Uh-huh.
And so through my own struggles and then helping a bunch of other women, it's like, oh, it doesn't matter what the thought process is that you're having. We all have it. And it all leads to diet and then basically binge. Or at least slowly fall apart until you're back to square one and it's over. And so this is a longer, weird process, but like, I don't know, it's worth it, isn't it?
Oh, 110,000% worth it. Like that's what I was talking to my husband about it this weekend and I'm like it it feels normal. Like I can live my life now. Like and like I remember before our wedding. We've been married 2 years in August. We were originally supposed to get married during COVID. So right right before COVID hit and then through like the first like 3 months of COVID, like I was a rock star. Like I ate perfectly. I was working out constantly. I was like focused. And then I forgot where was I going with this, Nikki?
Goes to prep for the wedding, I'm assuming.
Oh, yes.
So
So
you're like super dialed in.
yeah, super dialed in. But then the minute we decided to reschedule our wedding for COVID, I was like, done. Like, and I'm like, I was in the best shape of my life. Like, I've never been one, like, I was probably in my 30s before I started working out regularly. It just wasn't part of my life. It wasn't something my family did when I was growing up. It just wasn't a part of my life. And like even when I first started working out in my early 30s, like at this point I'm 40 and I'm in the better shape than I was 10 years prior to that. And I let it all fly out the window.
Well,
Because
when
I
that
didn't
giant carrot is no longer dangling in front of your face, if that's the only driver, then it does fall away. And so it's like, yeah, we're focused on losing weight and keep it off, but like hoping that the shift becomes about health. Because when you have this bigger focus, then that's when you keep up with it. Because even if you lose all the weight you want to lose, you get into the pant size you want to get into. How many of us hit the goal and then it's like, cool, I've arrived.
and now I'm gonna go back to doing what I used to do. And then in 3 months these pants aren't gonna fit me.
Yeah, it took me 8 months to get back in these jeans, and within two, I'll be right back out of them. And we've all done it. And so the driver has to change.
That's why I have clothes from multiple sizes in my closet. I've gotten rid of most of them because I didn't really think that was a healthy thing for me to keep around. I was
Yeah,
like, nah, I'm like, fitting back into those jeans isn't going to be what makes me happy or healthy.
right. These jeans from ninth grade. I'm never getting back in these jeans from ninth grade. Oh my goodness. Well, so how are you feeling different physically at this point?
So I'll tell you, going to my cousin's wedding was a huge, huge wake up call for how much my body has changed physically. So it was kind of cool because I had a wedding in May, like before I came into this program, before I was doing my workouts every week. I mean, since we started, since I started, not only have I done my 5 workouts, my husband and I go on a walk every single night together. Sometimes I go on 2 walks a day, depending on my schedule. Um, but yeah, before that wedding, danced, thought I was going to die most of the evening trying to keep up with my 20 something cousins, like was miserable. But I was like, no, I am going to stay out here and I'm going to have fun with them and I'm going to do this. Could barely walk the next day. Fast forward to Labor Day weekend, I didn't miss a beat. Like, never once while I was on that dance floor was I even tired. I was like, this is fantastic. And like the next day, I had my feet didn't hurt, my legs didn't hurt. Like, I was good. Like, it was amazing. And I'm like, who knew?
That's
10 weeks.
fantastic. You didn't
Yeah,
even
well,
tell us that. What a great
no,
non-scale victory.
yep. I don't think I really put much thought into it until like last week. Cause I was like, well, who's I talking to? My sister was asking me, she's like, so how are you feeling? And she's like, have you noticed a lot of differences? And because poor thing, she's 15 weeks pregnant and is a runner and has been so tired she can't do anything. And she's living vicariously through my workouts.
Isn't that something?
I'm like, whatever makes you happy, whatever gets you through the day. But so, and that's when I started talking about that. And she's like, that's crazy. And I'm like, I guess I hadn't really given it much thought, but yeah, that was a huge non-scale victory for sure.
That's
Like,
fantastic. Like that's such an amazing like fitness and longevity piece. Like
mhm.
we as women who are, we'll say older than, I don't know how old you are, but I'm going to say we're older than 30. We have to be
And
working on our cardiovascular fitness. Like it's important because it slowly declines with age. So it's like we're in this time frame where it's like we got to build it up as strong as we can so that we can be like, old people who can like move around and not be short of breath. Like,
that would be great. Yeah. I'd like that a lot.
awesome. I love that.
I think how else am I feeling physically? I'm calmer. I don't know if that has anything to like I just feel calmer as a person. And I that might sound crazy to you, but like things have felt like lighter, even though life is not lighter. Like I feel like maybe just because the mindset changes and the feeling like there is like something I have some control over in regards to my own health, like probably for the first time in a really long time, or ever for that matter. I don't know, like I just feel peaceful and calm, like, and it's really nice. Like things don't like things that my husband would have, I would want to stab him like 2 months ago, like don't bother me anymore.
To cut them just a little bit. No, that's not weird. I actually hear that a lot. In fact, moms who have like younger kids will often be like, my kids said that I'm like, I yell less or I'm like easier to be around. I don't know what it is. I think it's multiple things. Like A, when you're fueling your body appropriately and your blood sugar's not all over, you're not as cranky.
Huh?
But then also the mindset work that we do in the program, it really like transcribes into every other area.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so I think that that's probably the biggest part. And when you're not constantly focused on food, your weight, how miserable you are, when all that leaves, it's
Uh-huh.
very like it lightens up your brain a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's trying to think what else. Definitely sleeping better. Definitely have more energy. I still get my 3 o'clock, like my, I'm usually sometime between 2:30 and 3:15 where I feel like I'm going to like fall asleep at my desk. I can't seem to get past that. I don't know. That's always been my lull in the day, like always, my whole life. So
You
I
don't
don't know.
track in you don't track in our app, correct? You're
I
not a
have.
tracker.
Oh, so remember how much I didn't want to do that, right?
Yeah.
And then Brittany and I decided that I should for a little bit because I got in my own head about whether what I was doing was actually right or not. So she's like, well, why don't we track to see if you are putting the things in your body that you think you are, and you are doing the things you think you're doing? Because apparently I needed proof. I needed,
Sometimes we do need that proof.
I need,
And there's nothing wrong with it. Like while you're here, like just doing it just to have one of the coaches lay eyes on it too.
mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
why not? You know, it's not something everybody wants to do or has a desire to do or needs to do. But if you're wondering, then do it and have us look. Like that's the point of having coaches. But now that I know that you've been logging, I'm going to go look and see if we can figure out what's going on with that little afternoon lull. So sometimes that can be, not to turn this into a coaching session, but the listeners I think will care also, because who doesn't get a slump in the afternoon? It's very common. Sometimes that can be breakfast or lunch, but sometimes it's more of like a cortisol issue and like an adrenal issue. And so, whyever it's happening, it kind of determines what we need to do about it. But I always look at food and sleep, obviously, first. So, I'm going to look at your app when we get done.
Good. I haven't logged my lunch yet today. So don't think that I'm living on a protein shake, because I'm not.
Okay, good. I would have been like, excuse me, young lady, this is not enough food. And you know, I'm going to say this to you.
No,
So, well, are your
very.
clothes fitting any better?
Oh yeah, I've definitely noticed a change in that. I have jeans that, like, I was wearing them, but not comfortably prior to this. They no longer cut my circulation off. I no longer have red marks around my stomach when I take them off. So that's super exciting.
That
Uh,
is, I love that.
what did I? Oh, I put on a pair of sweatpants. A pair of sweatpants that I love, that I haven't put on in a while. And the last time I put them on, they were a little snug when I put them on. And I was like, really? Sweatpants? Too tight? Like, this is annoying. Put them on last night and they went right on. I was like, oh, look at that. So that's super exciting. And for the first, I've had a couple of people actually say something to me about the fact that I'm looking different. One of my girlfriends that lives in my neighborhood the other day, I can see it in your face. She's like, wow. She's like, that you definitely have lost some weight. And I was like, thank you. And then the girl who waxes my legs pointed out that my legs look more toned. I was like, thank you.
I mean, she gets the front row show,
She sure
so
does.
who better to point these things out to you?
Yeah. She sure
I
does.
love that so, so much. I love it. The non-scale victories are always my favorite. So we will wrap up by asking you, what would you say to somebody who is like on the fence about the Keep It Off Academy? Maybe they're a little bit like, I don't know if I can do this, or like, I don't know, whatever hesitations.
I mean, the first thing I would say to somebody who said that they don't know if they can do it is I would push back and ask them why, because I think that was my biggest thing. Like, I was telling myself I couldn't do this, and it had nothing to do with whether I really could or couldn't. But I think give give yourself a chance. Do something for you and step outside of what the world's been telling you about your body or how you're supposed to lose weight, because that's what this has done for me. Like, it's given my brain a vacation from the way I have always thought about food, the way I've always thought about the scale, the way I've always thought about my physical appearance, all of the things. That's what I would tell them.
I love it so, so much. Well, thank you so much for being on. I know our listeners are going to love this. In fact, I think you listening to Becky's episode is what pushed you over the edge. And you were like, well, screw it. I'm done waiting. It's time
Yes,
for me.
yes, it was.
So it's so sweet that you girls are willing to put yourselves out there and encourage other women that, like, there's a different way. You don't have to starve yourself. Come over here where we eat food.
Exactly. And that's exactly it. Like, you don't need to starve yourself. It's you can still eat the things.
Yeah, we still eat all the things. We just eat
All
them
the
in
things.
different quantities and different times.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Oh,
Oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
So say, like, the fact that the other day my mom made her world famous brownies, and I had like a little inch by inch, because that's all I need. I just need to taste it. And I was like, oh, that was lovely. And I was perfectly fine. Nothing happened.
I love it. When we can get away from where we have to be a total abstainer,
Mm-hmm.
that's magic.
Yes.
In the beginning, it's not always possible for people, but it's like so many women are like, no, you don't understand. I literally can't have sugar, or I then just crave it. And I'm like, no, I know that that's how you are now, but I'm telling you that we can get to a different place, and nobody believes me. And when you no longer have to completely abstain, you can actually have little pieces of things.
You can you can have a handful of potato chips and not the whole bag. Amazing.
That was the amazing one for me, because I will smash a bag of Doritos. I
Hmm.
mean, I still could if I were in the mood, but yeah, the fact that I can just have a couple and then I'm like, okay, I'm good. That was
Yeah.
like the Lord returning, big miracle, because me and Doritos, thick as
Yeah.
thieves.
Anything crunchy and salty.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, my dear, and we will see each other on tomorrow night's call, anyways.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, have a good one.
You too.